I've made over $1.1 million in profit on Etsy, and today I'm going to give you my top tip. And it really took me about 6 years to learn this lesson. If I can save you 6 years of trial and error and pain, why wouldn't I do that? My number one tip for Etsy sellers who are really serious about building an actual business is to build scalability into the product mix from the very beginning. You want to do this after the first 1,000 sales. Now, why after the 1,000 sales? Why not from day one? Well, because in your first 1,000 sales, you have to be completely scrappy. I almost don't care what you sell, right? Because we just need to get a shop with some momentum, with a positive quality score. You've got to get to 1,000 sales to really get into the game. You got to do whatever it takes to get those 1,000 sales. And I would not focus so much on prioritizing a scalable product mix. When you have less than 1,000 sales, you have not maxed out your bandwidth. You have not become the constraint in your business. And then once we got a shop with 1,000 sales in it, then we need to make the product mix scalable. And here are 2 mistakes that probably cost me millions of dollars and drove me now to make this video for you. The number one mistake I made was not integrating less handmade items sooner. For example, everything I was making was really made to order. So we started with floral letters, then we moved into baby mobiles, and then, we moved into some large flower walls. This is the tiny size. And a lot of the products, especially our items that were over $500, they took an hour or more. They're very expensive for the customer, and they can be breakable if you don't package them correctly. And for these larger, $500 plus items, I only trusted myself to make and package these things. Because that product category at the time was driving about 80% of my revenue, that was the last thing that I outsourced. And because I was only outsourcing 20% of what drove our revenue, I became the constraint of the business. And if I had only outsourced that thing that was driving 80% of the revenue from the beginning, we could have scaled so much faster and made hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not probably over $1 million more. The number one thing is to integrate less handmade items from the beginning. So we have lots of products that also are something that you just alter, right? It's quick, it takes 2 to 5 minutes, and it falls under the handmade category because you are altering a product or personalizing it. For example, 6 years into having my shop, I integrated a product that was actually a sweatshirt type of product, and it took about 2 to 4 minutes to make. We were doing over $40,000 a month just with that one type of customized sweatshirt. That I outsourced right away. And what that did was it completely opened up the opportunity to scale this to maximize cash flow. The second big mistake that cost me probably millions of dollars at this point was not hiring sooner. It was definitely a fear thing. I almost didn't believe the growth we were experiencing. For some reason, it took me a long time to trust that I had control over my sales. When I was working in corporate e-commerce, I was managing portfolios that were $100 million, and I was in my early 20s. But for some reason, I didn't trust myself early on doing that with Etsy. I waited until we were doing well over $300,000 per year until I ever hired part-time help. And it was simply for packaging. I told myself, okay, I can work more, I can stay up later, I can do more hours, I can speed up my time, be more efficient. And then by the time that I actually hired someone, I was in a mental state of being so overwhelmed that I almost talked myself out of it because I thought to myself, I don't have time to train them. I'm so underwater. It's kind of like to take 2 steps forward, you have to take the 1 step back first. I had to throttle back my orders through raising pricing. And I did that just to give myself time to train this employee. Fast forward a couple years, I'm also building a coaching business at the exact same time. And that is when I realized I have to transition from an assistant who packages the orders to someone who full-time makes 100% of the orders. When I looked at what was in front of me, I realized I don't have an option. If I want to build businesses, I have to hire. The opportunity cost of waiting another day is way too high. The point is that if you understand business principles and if you have a proven product, don't be afraid to hire. Now, you might be listening to this and thinking, I want a scalable business, but I don't want to hire an employee. That's totally fine, but I promise you it will limit your potential, or it will limit your lifestyle, because it will not get you that flexible lifestyle with financial freedom and time freedom if you're trying to do everything yourself all the time. Because if you are the only person who can keep your business growing, then what happens if you get sick? What happens if a family member gets sick? So if you want your business to be consistent with income, no matter what life is throwing at you, you can't shoulder it all yourself all the time. Because whether you want to do Etsy full-time or not, if you want to have at least consistency of your income, then I do recommend building your Etsy business so that it can continue to run without just you being there. So if you've made it this far, my number one tip to making over $1 million in profit on Etsy, it is not an SEO hack. It is not a pricing trick. It is not a trend in your product. It is really how you build the foundation of your business. I'm all about helping people build long-term, consistent income to give them a life of options. You can have those options. You can quit your job. You can be there for your family if and when you want to or need to be. That is really my biggest lesson learned on Etsy. And I hope you don't have to miss out on those millions of dollars of potential revenue like I did by making the same mistakes. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you'd like to learn about real corporate e-commerce strategies applied to Etsy, definitely subscribe, and always feel free to schedule a free call with myself and my team if you'd like to learn more about our unlimited private one-on-one coaching. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.
Until now, I didn't really have many sales in my Etsy shop. Almost 2 months ago, I bought the course. I can see a steady growth, increase in my views, especially in my conversion rate, which was very low before.